Hello again. Okay, in this video, what I'm going to tell you is how I prepped the Terminator before I painted him. And when I first got this thing in the mail, I had to decide whether I was going to try to paint him as a whole or if I was going to take him apart. And quickly I realized that I was going to have to take him apart because he had just too many intricate pieces. So the good thing about this Terminator is that most of the parts, like his arms, his legs, and his feet, can just be unscrewed because they're just screws holding him together. Very easy to take off. His hands just pop off, so that's no big deal. Now, where it becomes difficult is when you want to take his upper body apart, because let me grab. Because if you look at this wire here and these pistons up here, they're actually attached to his body with glue. And what you're going to have to do is take some pliers and pull them off. Now, the biggest problem is that the plastic is kind of weak. So when you use the pliers to pull them off, you're probably going to break the plastic. It's okay, I broke a couple of the pegs, but I just super glued it back together afterwards. So it's not too big of a concern. Now, the second thing you have to do, let me get back here. I don't know if you can see right here, but there's a peg holding these pistons in. Now, what you have to do is take maybe a paper clip or a pin, like maybe a push pin or something, and just hammer those things out. Put the tip of the pin right on that peg, and then just lightly hammer it, and you should be able to pop the pins out without a problem. And when you do that, the pistons can be removed, and you can have the waist section separated from the legs. Other than that, I think you're good to go. And you should be able to start your sanding process. Now, with this Terminator, what I noticed was that there's a lot of seam lines, especially on the pistons, and these shoulder areas right here had some tiny little seam line circles. You want to sand those off because you really want this thing to try to look like metal. And nothing says plastic like those tiny little seam lines. And my advice to you is to not use any sandpaper with a heavier grit than a 600. You might be able to get away with a 400, but if you sand with like a 220, what will happen is it'll cut too deeply into the plastic. And even when you try to come back and smooth it out with the smoother sandpapers, you won't be able to do it. The scratches are going to stay in there. So try to get rid of the seam lines with a 600 grade sandpaper. It might take you a little longer because it doesn't cut as deep, but just try to be patient with it. So after you do that, wash all the parts down with water. Some people use dishwashing soap or detergent to like really get it clean. I just rinse it, and just make sure all that dust and residue is off of it before you start painting it. Alright, in the next video I'll tell you what I did for my base coat.